All right, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 23rd regular board meeting for the Wenatchee School District. We're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con el servicio de traducción. Si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor, indique su necesidad. We're not going to work through the agenda. Board, are there any proposed changes or modifications? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had the opportunity to review the materials and ask the superintendent any questions they have about any items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda for this meeting includes minutes for the 6/10/26 regular board meeting, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, contracts, field trips, April financial report, and June enrollment report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
There you go.
Second.
It has been moved by Julie and seconded by Caroline. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Motion carries. Bright spots. Great.
Okay, this one. Okay. Yeah, for now. Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Anaisa is here tonight with us. Anaisa is our new assistant principal at Washington Elementary and is our principal for our migrant summer school. And today was the very first day. So she's had a long, busy, fun day. And we appreciate you being here today to tell us a little bit about our summer school program. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, first of all, for the invitation. I am really excited because today was the first day of summer school. So I get to tell you a little bit about it and also having experienced it now for a day. So my name is Anaisa Lemus Polito, and I am just going to very quickly go over just what summer school is about. So summer school, we have a theme this year, and we partnered with the GLAD trainers over at the ESD, and our theme is Wonders of the World. It runs for 1 month, 3 days a week, and because of our time frame, we are going to be talking about 4 of the 7 wonders of the world. We have the Great Wall of China, Machu Picchu, the Colosseum, and Taj Mahal. So all students, K-8, are going to be learning about these topics. I already said, we have it for 1 month exactly from June 23rd through July 23rd. We are going to be in summer school 3 days a week, so Tuesday through Thursday. From student school day is from 8 to 2 p.m. Staff are there a little bit before and after. And our enrollment, as of earlier in June, we had 191 students. I would say we were a little bit closer to 200 by today. And it is with kindergarten all the way up through 8th grade. Students who qualify, this is an invitation only program. It is primarily geared to our migrant families and our migrant students. And we are really targeting our priority for service students, so students who have moved within the last 3 years. We have a lot of experiences that we're bringing to our students. We bring those experiences through field trips and just different opportunities and partnerships throughout the program. So for our younger kiddos in kinder through 3rd grade, they are going to be going on 4 field trips. And our older students from 4th through 8th grade will be going to 3 field trips, which we will talk about in a little bit. Things that are new this year, In the past, summer school has been half days. This school year, we are doing, or this summer, we're doing full days. So instead of doing 4 half days, we're doing 3 full days. So since we have longer school days, we had a little bit of flexibility with just the schedule and what it was going to look like. So some things that are new, we have 2 intervention specialists that are going to support us with math, targeted math intervention, and also tier 3 supports for reading and or language supports. We have 1 PE specialist, and we are also going to be trying something called passion projects that I'll talk to you about in a little bit. Staff also got 2 full PD days, so professional development last week, where they got to learn a little bit about GLAD strategies to support language development. We talked a little bit about math and our curriculum we're going to be using, and just the logistics of what summer school is going to be like. So summer school connects to our big 6 outcomes in many ways, and these are just some of the ones that I could think of. We experience high quality instruction through our GLAD units. We also have a focus on priority standards in math. So every grade level has a targeted standard that they're working on for math. Students feel that sense of belonging and are connected through that supportive community with similar backgrounds. Because we are on a time crunch with them, we're very intentional with the time and building relationships. To read on grade level, we are supporting that primarily through comprehension, vocabulary, and activating more of that background knowledge for students. We're also providing reading intervention services. And ready for algebra? As I mentioned, we are focusing on our priority standards by grade. We also have direct instruction with opportunities for fact fluency work. And students are on track for graduation. Summer school provides the opportunity for students who typically move often to have that consistent education throughout the school year. So it helps address interruptions in schooling that can be caused by those frequent moves due to agricultural work. And students are involved in real-world relevant learning through field trips, innovative units, and passion projects. This is what our instructional days look like. So you can see most of them are the same at the middle and elementary school. We have that social emotional learning time. We have a block of ELA, which is primarily provided through our GLAD unit. We have our math block, intervention. We have a morning break, recess lunch, passion projects, and a specialist. At the middle school level, students rotate from one class to another. So we have 3 teachers, and they rotate with writing, math, and GLAD. This is something I'm very excited about this summer, our passion projects. It is new this year. I am borrowing an idea from Westside High School. We are wanting to bring experiences to students, and this idea it stemmed from something that Westside is doing, where we are providing a slot of time in our schedule for students and teachers to do something different, something that teachers are passionate about, where they get to experience more like real life activities, if you will, cooking, baking, STEM, scrapbooking, just things that teachers are passionate about. So we built in time on their daily schedule. It's a walk-to model, and we do have grade bands that are connected together. So for example, 6th through 8th grade can all walk to a different passion project topic. So teachers are really excited about it. We did a lot of shopping, got some great donations to be able to make this happen. So we're excited to see how it goes. We have different opportunities for families to also get engaged. We had a parent night last week. We had a pretty good turnout. We filled the cafeteria at Mission View. So just parents had an opportunity to connect with different staff members that are going to be there, get questions answered on transportation, partnerships from the library, and a lot of the district office team were there to help answer as well. We have opportunities for families to be chaperones during the field experiences. And of course, the end of year celebration, also a field trip, families will also be invited to that. These are our field trips that we will be attending. So kinder through third grade will be going to Lincoln Park. All students will get to go bowling different times, different days. Kinder through third is going to Smallwoods. Fourth and fifth grade are going mini golfing and to Blackbird Island in Leavenworth. The middle school gets to go to Chelan and try out the high trek. They're also going to be doing some leadership activities, team building kind of activities. And the end of year celebration will be over at Rotary Park, and all students will be there. We have amazing community partners. So CVCH is going to be coming to our to summer school to provide screenings for medical and dental. And as well as our libraries, our public libraries here. We actually are partnering with the Peshaston Library when we go to Smallwoods, so they're going to provide a story time. We have book donations coming to us this week, some crafts that are also, we're going to be partnering with at certain grade levels where public library is coming to the classrooms. We also got snack donations from Crunch Pack, daily snack donations. So we're very grateful for that. We are continuing our Packing Friendship support through the Nazarene or Church of Nazarene here in Wenatchee. It supports with food for our high needs families. And we most recently got a monetary donation for our Passion Project materials from the Wenatchee Valley Children's Guild. That is Migrant Summer School in a nutshell. So do you guys have any questions?
Did you say you're at Mission View, or is that just where you held your meeting? Where are you guys, what building you're at?
Mission View is the
Mission.
building we're at, yes, but all students from the school district are going there.
And staff too, from kind of all over?
Yes.
Thanks.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say, this is structured really, really well, and it makes me really happy to see the opportunities that our students are getting. Oftentimes it's like dreaded summer school, right? For the students, I'm assuming, I'm guessing. But the exposure of just the different activities, the passion projects, this is really meeting the students where they're at, and providing those opportunities. Yeah, and I know it's super challenging for the district. When I worked in the migrant program, we would often get calls saying, well, why is it only migrant students? And I know it all has to do with funding. So I'm glad to see that there was funding provided for summer school, and that the district is taking full opportunities to provide the services. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anissa, thank you for coming on a super busy day and sharing all the wonders of summer school. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to citizen comment. If any member of the public would like to make a citizen comment, please sign up online 15 minutes before the meeting or complete a citizen comment form. Forms are available at the room's entrance and should be turned in to the board secretary, Kim White. Unless translation is required, each comment is limited to 3 minutes. Ms. White will keep a timer that will notify you when your time expires. Individuals that need translation or interpretation will be given 4 minutes to make a comment, plus the time needed to complete translation. Please be aware that the board's role is to receive comments. They will not respond to questions or challenges, and the board's silence does not signal agreement or endorsement of the speaker's remarks. Kim, who do we got first?
David Elwood.
Hi, my name's David. I'm with the Yes for Wenatchee Schools Committee. We formed up last January to help advocate for the school district as they were planning for this bond, and now as you guys get to vote on it. And I just want to say first that I think Corey and Diana and their whole team have done an amazing job with hiring Integris and really making the case to the community for the high school, coming up with a great plan to keep the parts of the high school that are still serviceable while replacing the ones that really need to be replaced. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that. The other part of this bond that I think is really important and a lot of people don't hear as much about is the HVAC for the 7 other schools. I mean, outside today it was what, 100 degrees, 90% humidity. We're going to get more and more of those days moving forward. We get a lot of smoke in the fall. We've seen shutdowns of the schools already. And having been into the machinery spaces, seeing the conditions that the district staff are having to work in right now, maintaining 1970s HVAC equipment with no spare parts. You know, Freon is not going to be around for much longer. And if one of those compressors blows out, the high school could be shut down, literally. And we need to, the new high school is going to be amazing, and I'm fully in support of it, but also doing this HVAC right, getting all the schools rebuilt at the same time, it's going to save on O&M costs. And that's one of the big reasons I'm supporting this bond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynette Westendorf.
Hi, my name is Lynette Westendorf. I am here in behalf of the Yes for the Wenatchee Schools for the bond. And I just thought I'd give an impression about last Saturday's table at the Pride Festival where I volunteered, and David and some other people volunteered too. I think more people don't know about the bond coming up than do. This is not a scientific study, but that was my impression, that more people weren't aware of it. The people who were aware of it were, I think, 100% supportive. Particularly people from education, including the engineer who helped design the first building, that said it's been worn out for a long time. Only one person while I was there asked how much it was going to cost. And I think the most effective visual or interaction came from showing how badly the mechanicals are at the high school and the HVAC system. So I don't know if that will, affect how you reach out to the community, but thank you for your support of this. I know you're working on it. I know you think it's important, and that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jimena Rivera.
Hello, my name is Anaí Zavala, and alongside me is Jimena Guerra and Agustina Anguiano, and we are here on behalf of the AEM team at the Wenatchee High School. And we would like to thank the members of the board to take a moment to recognize the energy management and sustainability efforts taking place across the district. We are proud to announce that Wenatchee High School has achieved compliance with the Clean Buildings Performance Standards, on accomplishment made possible through strong leadership, collaboration, and dedication of personnel working together. We extend our gratitude to Diana for her creativity and guidance, and through the Power Down playoffs and other marketing campaigns. Thank you to Brian Brocky and his team for their hard work, attention to detail, and dedication. We also appreciate Dr. Callahard's ongoing support for his program and the opportunity to advance these efforts across the district. We look forward to building this momentum and further strengthening energy efficiency efforts across the district. And this success reflects what can be achieved and what committed teams work together towards shared goals. Thank you again for your continued support and for helping make these accomplishments possible. Thank you, your SEM interns.
Thank you.
Katie Pauley.
Good evening. I had 3 kids go through the Wenatchee schools. I was a product of the inner city schools in Seattle in the 1970s. And I know just how important really strong public schools are for our community. I know I'm singing to the choir. Most of the people here really understand that, but I wanted to just add my voice and say that funding a public school system, a high school that is big enough for any high school student that wants to attend. I'm well aware that there are plenty of private school options that are being built and being promoted. But I think as a community, it's our responsibility to provide high-quality educational opportunities for all the kids in the valley. So thank you.
Thank you.
Juan Rodriguez.
Good evening, board members. My name is Juan Rodriguez. I am a parent of 2 daughters who will be attending John Newberry this fall. I am also a community organizer, and today I am speaking as co-chair of Yes for the Wenatchee Schools PAC. As a community organizer, I have had thousands of conversations with people across our valley, and one concern I hear repetitively from parents is the increasing heat in our region and the impact that that has in our schools. Parents have told me that schools have been dismissed, seeing students early because of classrooms becoming too hot. Others have shared that their children come home complaining about uncomfortable learning conditions. At Wenatchee High School, some students skip lunch because the cafeteria is overcrowded and there simply is not enough room for everybody. Many of the school buildings were not designed for the climate we are facing. Aging HVAC systems struggle to keep up with extreme heat and wildfire smoke. Our students deserve learning environments that are safe, healthy, and comfortable. The proposed bond is about more than a new high school. It is about making critical investments in our schools so every student has access to modern learning spaces, reliable heating, cooling, and air filtration systems. Strong schools benefit the entire community. They help prepare the future workforce, support local businesses, attract families to our area, and give parents confidence that their children are learning in a healthy and safe environment. As a parent, a taxpayer, and a community member, I respectfully ask you to move forward with the bond resolution and allow voters to decide its future in November. The cost of construction continues to rise, and delaying these needed improvements will only make them more expensive. Let's give our community the opportunity to invest in our students and our future. Thank you for your dedication to our children and our community, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. All right, thank you all. We are going to now move on to special presentations.
All right, I think I'm okay. Okay, thank you. All right, we have a presentation on our annual presentation on the end of year data. So we have Executive Director of Learning, Teaching and Schools, Eric Anderson, and Director of Learning and Teaching, Amber Burks, are here to share the end of year data. And I think Brittany Acho is going to jump up there as well, our Assistant Principal at Newberry and our multilingual coordinator. So excellent. Thanks for being here, everyone. It's hot.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you. We're good. Fantastic. Well, everybody, thank you for having us up here to share a snapshot of our end of year learning results. We're going to cover a number of things today, but know that this obviously won't be very in depth. We only have a short period of time. So if it's something we want to go kind of more detail into some of this data, Dr. Keller and I talked earlier about maybe we look at a board workshop next fall to really dive into some of the more disaggregated data. We're going to share some of that with you today, but obviously from a time standpoint, we're not going to dive too deep into that. So again, thank you. We are going to jump in here. We always start with our promise. So we always come back to what drives us as part of our strategic plan. And our promise is we promise to build a foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion from which each student emerges future ready. So that is, again, the foundation of the work that we do as a learning and teaching team. And We are going to focus on 3 areas today. So we're going to talk about, of the big 6 outcomes, we're going to focus on high quality instruction. We're going to focus on reading on grade level. And we're going to look at ready for algebra. And we just threw up a nice picture of the board recognition here from a previous board meeting. So, you know, just wanted again to throw that out there and thank you for the work that you are doing in support of our students. So we're gonna step into the implementation progression.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, good. So as part, we wanted to frame tonight in our learning results around all the hard work our whole organization is doing to continuously improve. And last year at this time, we shared this progression with you. That's based on implementation science. We know as we try to implement the strategies, the evidence-based strategies are essential strategies. It takes time and professional learning. And so what you see on the left here are tight systems and structures. These are the systems and the routines and the strategies that we want to guarantee to all students. So PLCs and guaranteed and viable units, so that despite which school or classroom students are in, they're getting that high quality instruction. And with the WSD essential instructional strategies, those are all rooted in evidence, and they're the strategies that get the most results. Structured literacy, we are a structured literacy district. Math literacy and routines that make sure students are algebra ready. We want to guarantee intervention and extension systems, and also our PBIS and social emotional learning. And so those are the strategies that we guarantee, and we're on a journey somewhere on the learning practice phase where that's where professional learning happens. And then we move those strategies to the refine, where those strategies or their structures are guaranteed. And where we're really striving as a district is to get all of those systems and structures into the habit phase. And that's where we can guarantee them, where we're building strong systems, where those strong systems really equate to equity, because then the academic excellence is across the system. So it's not dependent on which classroom or school you are at. It's, excellent everywhere. And so we just wanted to start there and point out that we met with our instructional leaders, our principals today, and they all had set goals around, and they all set an implementation goal. And so we wanted to celebrate tonight that from spring 2025 to spring 2026, 12 of our 13 schools, 92%, moved one or more strategy or structure into the habit phase, which is something to celebrate. And then from spring 25 to spring 26, all of our schools moved one or more strategy at least one level or phase. So there you go. We wanted to just give some context and come back to that implementation progression that we had introduced to you last spring. So now we're going to start by looking at our read on grade level Big 6 outcome and some of our results. So we're going to start with the reading, I-Ready diagnostic assessment. The reading diagnostic assessment, you'll remember, is given, it's a universal screener, which means it's given 3 times a year. All students get this. It's a computer assessment. And we give this in reading and math. And really the purpose of this, 2 purposes for this assessment, is we want to identify students, a screener finds students who need intervention, and then we take that information and we provide that intervention. That's one of the main purposes. And the other one is to measure your system, your health of your system. So you can see here from 23, this shows from 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26. You'll see that we put the results in grade bands. K2, you see a slight uptick there. 3-5, you see a slight, and 6-8. So you see gradual growth. And that is I-Ready reading. This is proficiency. So we're looking at the students who were proficient or above. Here we have the reading I-Ready growth measure. So this is still I-Ready, but this is measuring growth, not proficiency. So this is showing, it shows 2 different, in the first section, their title, it's annual typical growth. And the title on the right is annual stretch growth. And you can see here that we're highlighting our EL population and our special ed population. And what we want you to pay attention to is in the annual growth, you can see that EL learners were at 100%. That annual growth, 100% of that population was making progress towards median growth. And then 50% of that of students met. That's how this report works. So you can see the non-English learners were at 117 and 57% of them met. And one thing we want to point out here, you do see a slight gap between the English language learners and non-English language learners, but that gap is slight. And then you can see also the celebration of the annual typical growth for our special ed students compared to non-special ed students. So we wanted to show this. The first graph was proficiency rates, and this is the growth. Now I'm going to pass it to Eric.
All right, this slide is representing our SBA foundational grade level scores. So this is 2s, 3s, and 4s on our SBA exam in ELA. And again, broke down by grade level, 3, 5, 6, 8, and grade 10. You'll notice that the iReady, by the way, showed K2. That is the only assessment that we have that shows a K2 data point. So just to kind of understand, if you're like, why did that drop off and why did we grab high school? That's why. That we don't have a high school iReady, but we do in the SBA, obviously. So when we look at our foundational data, you can see that we see a little uptick in the high school. I think that's it's a nice 9-point or 8.5-point jump there, but relatively flat everywhere else in our system. And this is one of the things that we've really talked about is, because I'm going to show you, in fact, I'll just jump to the next slide and come back. When you look at this is our 3s and 4s. And so when we look at our 3s and 4s, they are ratcheting up. We are starting to stair step those numbers in the right direction. And so as we see growth in 3s and 4s, it poses the question, well, why aren't we seeing our growth in our foundational? And really what this conversation comes down to is the work that we need to identify in both core, so in core content, driving that core instruction, but also in intervention. So how are we then assisting our students who are at that level 1, identifying those gaps, and then growing them into those levels 2, 3s, and 4s. So again, our 2, 3, 4s are relatively flat right now, but our 3s and 4s are growing, and that's great. So we are growing students into these proficiency levels, and that's great. And again, a 7% jump at the 10th grade level. One of the things that we wonder, obviously we can't say a direct correlation because we don't know that necessarily right now, but I will say that I think it does have to do with the phone-free environment that you have helped create in our systems. So thank you for doing that, because I do believe it is represented in our numbers at grade 10.
Eric, can I jump in really quick?
Yeah.
Any ideas why we're seeing that 40s in 6 through 8 in the SBA versus the 30s in 6 through 8 on the iReady?
You want to talk about that?
I think I meant to point out that there is, the iReady can be a strong predictor for Smarter Balance, because you did see you were kind of in the, they're close. However, with the iReady, that is all multiple choice questions and only reading. And when we go to the Smarter Balance, that is multiple choice questions, short constructive response questions, writing performance tests. So now writing is introduced where full essays are written, where that wasn't the case with with iReady. So that's different assessments.
So the diversity of skills we're actually doing better, right? Great. Thanks.
Okay, the next thing we wanted to kind of bring in, just as Amber talked about the growth on the iReady, this actually connects back. So student growth percentiles actually go back to Tim's presentation on WISIC. So the Washington School Improvement Framework includes student growth percentiles. Now, this is not current, this is not this year's data. So I wanted to be clear. We added this in because we wanted to continue to bring this forward to you. But this is 22, 23, and 24, 25 school years. So this is actually last year's data in this growth, because our data right now is preliminary, right? 25, 26 is not finalized. Therefore, they can't give us the growth percentiles. But regardless, what we wanted to show you was how our students are doing along those lines. So as we look at the last 3 years, when we broke down our Latino Hispanic student subgroup, as well as our low income, as well as all. 50% is the line. That's basically the average median across the state. And what growth percentiles are is anything between 44 and 59 is considered average growth. Anything above 59 is considered high growth. And anything below 44 is considered lower growth. We are obviously moving in the right direction as we have come back from COVID and started to see that momentum moving in that direction. All of our groups are seeing great growth, and the gap itself is also not very big as we look at only a couple percentage points difference between our all and some of our subpopulations. So all at 52, low income at 48, all at 52, other teen students at 50. So again, we're seeing good growth. Our goal, I mean, just to be very clear, our goal is to have this up into the 60 range plus. So we're not satisfied with this, but we're glad to see this moving in the direction of we're increasing that rate of growth among our student body. We're going to pause. We're actually going to go at each section. We're going to stop for comments and questions because we know we have a fair number of slides to present to you. So we're kind of stopping at each point to give times for questions so you don't have to wait till the end. So on those particular slides, comments, questions that we can answer before we move on to that.
I will continue to jump in whenever the question comes to me. So.
Okay. And you can do it that way as well. It's just, we literally put it in the slide. Your rule.
I'll wait for questions. Knowing these tests fairly well as former educator, I always struggled heavily with the iReady test. We weren't using that program as a teaching tool in English, and we didn't really know anything about the test going into it. Are there any conversations or, I mean, I'm sure you guys are getting information from iReady on how they're developing these tests and how they're coinciding with our curriculum and what we're teaching, but they always just seemed like a kind of test for the kids. So are we seeing any sort of engagement with those?
You know, that's a great question. I think knowing what our priority standards are, I know you know them well. They are way beyond, we do so much critical thinking with, for example, just the critical thinking of claim, evidence, and reasoning. And students having to think through like reading, making inferences, making claims, you know, supporting those with evidence and reasoning. And we put a lot of our instructional time into that, really important, because that's real world important thinking. We want our students to be critical readers, critical thinkers. I think instructionally, because we're putting our energy there, we don't always put our energy into the format of multiple choice questions. And I think that's a thing. And so I think we do want to weave. I think format is important for students. We want to give them access to the format. And I think something our professional learning communities are talking about is how do we weave that in a natural way so that students are getting format and practice, but we're still doing the authentic work of critical thinking and critical reading. So, that helpful?
I mean, I know that we do the CFAs and, you know, all those things that are, I feel like, much better tests in my opinion. But it's hard when we don't see that data and that growth, and all we're getting is these bigger tests that aren't really targeting what we're teaching on the bigger scale. So it's just there's probably a lot more growth than we're seeing. It's just not these tests.
That's true. And tonight we're not highlighting common formative assessments, which we've done that in other meetings. So great point. Yeah.
Oh, let me start. With math, one of the things we have seen some steady growth in ELA, which is fantastic. And we started our ELA intervention earlier than we have with math. So I just want to be clear, in math, we know this is an area that we still have a lot of room for growth, and our teachers are working extremely hard around that. But you're going to see in here, this obviously is still an area of growth. That has not changed for us in terms of we still have more room to grow. So I'm just setting the stage for it's about the same as last year in terms of ability. Let's jump in.
And I appreciate what Eric was saying. As a team, as a district, we're not satisfied with these results. We are hungry for the excellent results and high levels of learning for all. So similar to what I shared with reading iReady, reading diagnostic, oh, that should say, sorry, there's a typo in there. This is math. And so same situation. This is 3 times a year. This is our universal screener. You'll see K2 staying steady, really 3-5 staying steady, and a little uptick there in 6 through 8. As Eric was pointing out, K-5, we have had more intentional professional learning and time around math pedagogy, the science of how we need to teach math through conceptual, procedural, and applying that learning. And we are happy to say we're moving that alignment into middle school and high school, but this was our first year to do that. So just some background for you there. And here is the growth measure for our EL learners and our special ed learners. I really appreciate seeing this because again, you're seeing in the annual typical growth, students are growing. They're doing that growth within 1 year. There's growth happening. And the gap between EL learners and ML learners is slighter even here with math. And our students with IUPs are also growing, and the gap is about the same that we saw in reading. So we're happy to see that growth.
Yeah, and as Amber just pointed out, we have had more time in the elementary grades around the intentional work around math. Not to say we haven't had intentional work in math in upper grades, but in terms of our ability to systematize it. So we're pleased to see those numbers continuing to grow at the K-5 range. So you'll see that. We are relatively flat again in kind of middle school, and we did see a little bump again at high school. Again, going back to, it may have to do with some changes that we made this year around our environments. These are our 3s and 4s. Again, we are edging our way up, but just as Amber said, we don't believe we're there, obviously. We have a lot of room for growth. We're, again, pleased to see the numbers continue to climb. We would like to see them grow faster, obviously, and we would like to see them overall higher than where they're at right now. But we've got a plan to get us there, and we will get there. Just give us some time, but we will get there. Same thing on our growth percentiles. This is again, grades 3 through 8. These are a year lagging. Again, what I want to point out is the nice thing about this is, again, we're not seeing gaps here. There are very small gaps between our subpopulations and our all student body. So again, we are seeing good growth in both ELA and in math. Again, our goal, our target is above 60%. We're continuing to work on that to see accelerated growth within our students. But again, pleased with where we're at right now. Pause for a second. Did not have any questions during that segment, but I would like to give you the opportunity to ask questions right now.
I totally waited this time.
Okay. Go. Okay.
Did we make any changes at the, I love the idea that this is all cell phones. Do we make other changes just to know whether we're controlling for phones or not? I just, I love to see growth, but like,
Yep.
and I love to think that it's just because everyone's hanging up, but is there other stuff going on too?
Yes. So we'll talk about ELA for 1 second. Obviously phones we do think is a part of it because some of our survey data is showing that kids believe they're more engaged. That they're saying that they actually are feeling like they're in better spaces. And some comments I think that, Corey has shared with us around some of our kids are like, our teachers are more engaging this year. It's like, well, they're the same as they were last year from that probably, but they're without the phone, you're more engaged, which obviously is creating a more engaging environment. But in ELA, we had our 10th grade team really be intentional this year around some intervention. So our 10th grade ELA team really kind of created an intervention for our kids. And then we also, this is the second year we are in our automatic acceleration program in English, which means a kid who scored a 3 or a 4 on their SBA in 8th grade gets automatically placed into an advanced 9th grade English class, and then they continue to roll up. So basically they have to opt out of being in an advanced class if they choose to, otherwise they're automatically enrolled in that class, which is great because we've seen our advanced numbers go way up because of that particular policy. So what I'm saying is the rigor for that group of kids is also increased, right? So we're pushing them into more advanced courses. We think that's playing out in the numbers as well around ELA. Math, we always have intervention work. We don't have an intentional intervention piece at the high school right now in terms of, we have an additional resource. We have a paid for out of LAP that helps support kids in math. We've had that for a while, so I'm not going to say that is different, but I will say that she has been freed up more this year. Unfortunately, in years past, we've had to pull her back into teaching classes because we've had, whether it be too large a class size or whether we have a resignation of a staff member right at the end of the year. Like those are the types of things that have created some discontinuity around that. This year, we have not had that kind of work, which means she's been able to have more time involved in that. But our math team is also working really hard over the summer. They're really kind of digging into where are we struggling in this? Like, where are we missing the ball with our 9th and 10th graders? Like, what is that? And so we have actually asked them, and we are compensating them to spend some time over the summer to really dive a little deeper into the data to better understand where are some of those core competency areas that we're just not hitting. What does that look like? Are we doing too much in review? Are we starting in the, like, what does that look like? So we have asked them, and they're excited to dive into it, and we're going to see what this looks like when they come back in August as well.
I don't have a question. I'm sorry, were you? I don't have a question, but this should be to none of you guys a surprise. That I think this is, as a board member, this is what I have been wanting to hear. This doesn't mean it wasn't happening before, but I think acknowledging that, hey, the gap exists. Hey, we are raising the bar for all of our students. There's room for improvement. We're not quite satisfied. And then we actually have a goal there's a goal that you guys are sharing with us. This is all, I think it's a step in the right direction. Like I said, I'm not saying it didn't exist before, but what you guys are sharing is what I have been wanting to hear. So thank you.
And all I was gonna say is thank you for sharing that too. Like I appreciate you blowing sunshine at us for the cell phone ban, but the work you're doing is important to highlight as well. So thank you for elaborating on that.
Okay, we're going to move on, and I believe Brittany's up next. Here you go.
All right, so we have right around 1,638 qualified multilingual students. Ray Burks gave me that number earlier today. So these are students who have been screened as being an English language learner, have been put into our programs, and every year they have to take an English assessment called WIDA. On the WIDA, there's 4 parts. There's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And our results this year look like this. So we had 79 multilingual learners demonstrate English language proficiency on the WIDA assessment, which is fabulous. Down below, you can see our running totals over the year of how we've done. One of our bright spots right now is in 4th and 5th grade. That's where we're seeing the majority of our students exit, which makes complete sense because we know learning the English language to proficiency takes 5 to 7 years. That's when they're hitting 4th and 5th grade. So we want to continue to see those numbers increase. So we are sending less students up to the secondary level as multilingual qualified learners. One of our other bright spots this year is 8th grade. We exited 13 students, which is not something we see very often. And so that was an absolute celebration for our middle school teachers and EL specialists. For these students that we say exit, that means they've hit the proficiency level on the assessment. We will then monitor them for the next 2 years to make sure they're continuing to have academic success. And those exited students become part of our all data, so our non-EL data.
Right. I'm doing it again. Do you know what what percentage of those are coming out of Lewis and Clark at the fourth and 5th graders? Just as a percentage is, as we talk about the growth of the dual language program, how is that affecting our WIDA graduation numbers?
Yes. At Lewis and Clark, I think they averaged about 180 multilingual qualified students. So out of their total, it's at least 40% of the students are ML qualified. As far as seeing them exit at that 4th and 5th grade level, we had a few. At all of the elementary schools, we had a few exit right then. We also, with this test, you hit a 4.7 criteria on the WIDA test, or you score between 4.3 and 4.6 and score a 3 on SBA. So we had 59 students hit the exit criteria on just the WIDA, and then we had an additional 20 students who also scored a 3 or higher on the ASPA assessment. So all the work that our teachers are doing in Tier 1 instruction with writing specifically is getting students to demonstrate English language proficiency. And for our kinder numbers, usually we see a few students exit in kinder. It was a brand new test this year. It's a very rigorous test for kindergartners to take. I gave it to many students. And and they gave it their best shot. And we will see lots of growth as they get into first and second grade. But now we have our baseline, and now we can plan forward of how do we support these students as they grow in their language proficiency. Are there any comments or questions?
All right, our last part here is what's our plan? How are we moving forward? What are we gonna do to work forward and improve this? And well, I'm having just. Yeah.
There we go. Well, as you know, we've talked about this strategy before. We still will stay in this strategy. One thing we will do for sure, we will continue to leverage the PLC process, and you've heard us talk about tier 1 core instruction. It is the PLC process has very high effect size, which means it's just very evidence-based because you're talking about teams working together to improve instruction. So answering those 4 PLC questions, our district is committed to supporting our professional learning communities. They meet on Monday mornings, and they're during our late starts, and they're answering these questions. What do we want students to learn? What do we want them to? So there are strategies and our standards. How do we know they've learned it? That's through our common formative assessments, our iReady and ESPA that you saw tonight. And they're constantly saying, well, what are we going to do if they didn't learn? So that's where your intervention and extension comes in. And what are we going to do if they did? That's the extension. And then on our right here, this is coming back to what Brittany was talking about and what we've been talking about tonight. In classrooms where we see implementation of our essential strategies, the structured reading and writing, academic discussion, visuals and academic vocabulary, and then have classroom cultures where student talk and collaboration is the norm. And students are in rigorous texts and engaging in rigorous tasks. That's where we see results. And so we're going to continue to leverage these 2 strategies. And this year, we going into next year, we're going to provide more support for our professional learning communities in the same way we have a learning walk process so that all of our instructional leaders and you are out in classrooms seeing these strategies in play. We're going to have a PLC process where we visit PLCs and we support them through giving feedback as well. And so that's one thing we're going to do is continue leveraging PLCs and core instruction.
We may have coordinated a little better on how we bounce back and forth here, but whatever. Anyway, for next year. Here's one thing that we've talked about. We're really increasing the layers of leadership that sit within our buildings for next year. We've kind of revamped some things. We've had a trainer model the last couple of years, and we've really kind of shifted going into next year into an MTSS coordinator position. So in that role, that individual is going to be leading our K-5 intervention specialist team. They're going to be leading our math and ELA intervention work. And then they're going to be supporting and leading job-embedded professional learning within our schools. So at the K-5 level, and that's really kind of diving deep into that math pedagogy and strategies in the building. And then they're going to lead PLC and guaranteed and viable professional learning. So we've kind of changed the structure a little bit. We now have them really working kind of directly with our intervention specialist team at the elementaries to drive this work, and then to have someone in those buildings directly leading that work as well, alongside obviously with our principals. But again, really kind of working in the building to push that. And then at the 612 area, we've done the same thing. We have our MTSS coordinators now. So again, we had a trainer model where we had a trainer that worked with all 612. And now we've really kind of moved that into their building level individuals. So we have a person at each one of the middle schools and the high school, and they're going to be working directly with Amber and our learning and teaching team to drive that work at 612. So again, trying to get into our buildings and have individuals working directly with those teams. So we've spread out the leadership. We've created kind of a little different structure. We're excited to see how this works out next year. That we'll be heavily involved in our professional development opportunities for next year as well. So we have that. We also want to leverage some bright spots. So as we kind of continue to work through our data, these are some district bright spots that we just wanted to share around our SBA participation rates, which we know it's important that all kids test. Because if our numbers are low, we aren't getting an accurate read of how much they've learned, what their proficiency levels are. We have really kind of settled in over the last couple of years into those mid to upper 90s, which is great. Our elementaries have typically had strong numbers. Our secondary numbers, for whatever reason, we got into a bit of a funk where we had this kind of idea we could opt out. And so we had a lot of our middle school and high school kids deciding to opt out of taking the test. And that has really shifted last year and this year, and we've kind of settled in. So that's a positive. Our attendance rates have been increasing steadily since 22-23. A lot of work in our buildings, a lot of work with family outreach. This last year, not this year, last year we kind of crested over the state average, which is fantastic. So we pushed over the state average. We're excited to see where we land at the end of this school year. And then based on last year's data, again, as I go back to the student growth percentiles, as we've evaluated that, we continue to see strong growth. In fact, we saw every one of our elementary schools saw an increase in student growth percentiles for ELL students in English language arts, which was fantastic. So we again continue to see strong growth in that. Again, tier 1 core instruction, we're continuing to grow that, but those are some really positive pieces. And then Amber's going to share some building.
Okay, so more bright spots. As Eric was saying, it's like you want to keep building leaders. Leaders build leaders. We want to keep growing the teams that are getting results. We want to go to them and have us lead us as a district into spreading your learning results across the district, your successes. So at Foothills, 8th grade ELA, they had ESPA cohort growth and increased proficiency. So from 7th grade to 8th grade, we saw, I think it was over 10% growth. So that's a team that we want to pay attention to. And we'll be inviting these teams into our instructional leadership meetings. We want to hear from them, and we want to hear what they attribute their results to, again, and we want them sharing that with their peers. At Orchard Middle School, 7th grade math, we saw ESPA cohort growth rate, which was really exciting. That was about 9 points growth. So anytime you get like around that 10% growth in 1 year's time, that's pay attention. That's really good growth. Mission View had their 5th grade team in ELA had ESPA cohort growth and increased proficiency. So from 4th to 5th, Newberry, ELA, and math, collectively, their whole school, each grade level 3 through 5, increased their ESPA proficiency. So we really just want to be asking, what's happening at Newberry? What is your culture? What are your classrooms looking like? We just really want to dig in and learn. And then at Wenatchee High School, 10th grade ELA increased proficiency. And Eric was talking a little bit about that team this year. We know some of the things that they put in place, very intentional rigor up in core, more writing instruction that was aligned with the writing, the ESPA and the writing performance task, and also intervention, really tight intervention systems and extension. So that was exciting, but we want to learn more from that team. So that's one of our key plans. So we're going to end this segment with comments and questions as well.
Looks good. Thanks for sharing all that.
That's it.
You have shown us the last comment and question sign. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah, just really want to shout out Eric and Amber and our learning and teaching team. Obviously, a team with high expectations and results driven. So just thank you for all the work and the dedication and the huge support that you have for the district. We appreciate it. And next up, we have Sean with part two of 2 presentations over the 26-27 annual budget. And so we're going to talk about the 5th fund, the general fund. So Sean, you are here and ready.
Thank you. Good evening, President Jackson, members of the board, and Dr. Callahar, here to present tonight on the 2026-27 preliminary budget for the general fund. And this is part 2 of 3 budget presentations. So we had our first presentation on 2 weeks ago. We went over the other funds of ASB, capital projects, debt service, and transportation vehicle. And tonight we'll focus just on the general fund. And then August, we'll have a third and final presentation at our August 11th board meeting, once after ESD review and the finished budget will be presented to the board for review and approval. So as review, again, governmental accounting school districts operate on a fund basis. So a fund is a self-balancing account set about to accomplish specific objectives and activities in accordance with regulations. And the general fund is the largest fund. It makes up about between 85 and 90% of the district budget. Right now, projecting the general fund budget to be about 89%, followed by capital projects hovering between 5 to 6%, debt service around 3%, and then ASB and transportation rounding up the remaining percentage about less than 1% each. First, before we dive into the general fund, we'll go into our enrollment. So enrollment drives about 75% of general fund revenue. And so here we're focusing on our first versus kindergarten enrollment. So where we're entering in the 26-27 school year. And so we can see where we finished with 25-26, we saw a substantial drop, almost 71 births on the top line, which corresponded from a drop of kindergarten enrollment of 435 in 24-25, and we finished around 383 for this school year. Moving from 25-26 to 26-27, we're anticipating we see smaller continuing decrease in birth rates, albeit at a much lower rate. And so we do anticipate smaller kindergarten classes, but we are hoping we do not see a dramatic drop as we saw in the last school year. As you can see in 29-30 school year, we're seeing an increase. We saw an increase in birth rates, so we're following a corresponding increase in our kindergarten enrollment. And how we track this, again, is our incoming kindergarten classes. We just take the birth year and then add 5 years. So for the 26-27, going into the 26-27 school year, a student born in 2021 would be our kind of projected kindergarten class. Currently, 2026 birth rates are not available. Last year, Marcy with NGT Consulting was able to get that data to us the first week of July. So we're hoping to see if we can get the same results this year, and that will be available for us during the August presentation. And just to kind of round out how we finished this year, again, we had 383 FTE for our kindergarten class. And then across the river in Eastmont, they had a class of 397 for their kindergarten class. So we do see that decrease in birth rates and the impact it's having on our kindergarten classes. And this kind of follow our enrollment history. So we're kind of stretching it out all the way to 15-16, which is when we had our peak enrollment. And then kind of major highlights, we saw a substantial drop of over 300 FTE between the 19-20 and the 2021 school years, again, due to the COVID lockdowns. Then we kind of had a slight bump once things reopened in 21-22. But just kind of that corresponding the decrease in our birth rates, the graduating classes larger than incoming classes. Also, there's just more options in the area for families looking for educational opportunities, whether it's a charter school or private school. We saw new openings or expansions in 21-22 as well. And so just kind of the overall impact we're seeing is that just continuous decline that's where we're continuing, where we've actually ended up. So 25-26 school year, we're finishing at 64-27, which is about our budgeted amount. So we budgeted for about 64-27, excluding Running Start and Open Doors, and that's where I'm projecting where we're going to end for this school year. Maybe once see a slight more, depending on how our summer school enrollment is, we might get a few more FTE there, but that's where I'm projecting we're going to end out for this year. And then for 26-27, again, we see that projected over decline of 200 FTE. And then ultimately, we just kind of, again, with declining birth rates, graduating classes larger than our incoming classes, we're going to see that continuing decline
in enrollment for the near future.
Sean, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Did you say we're getting FTE for summer school?
Yes,
Oh, great.
at the skill center, yes, yeah. And generally that hovers between 15 to 18 FTE every year. So here's the same data, just in number format and broken out by grade level. Kind of highlighting the 500 plus grade classes. So as we can see, we're still on track. Our 500 plus classes probably forecasted to disappear by the 28-29 school year. Our largest 500 plus class in our elementary level, they were third graders last year. So you can see the 505, followed by 514. And then that's continuing on here from 4th to 5th grade. So by the time they move on to middle school, which we usually see that drop, that transition from elementary to middle school, we generally see a decline in our enrollment as students look at other educational opportunities, like generally you see it going to Pinnacles Prep. So that kind of accounts for that decline there. And then we see a decline between the 10th and 11th grade levels, just due in part to Running Start. But as we can see, with declining birth rates, you can see, just for 25, 26, our incoming class of 383, and we have an outgoing class of 506. So again, major factor in our enrollment decline. Another thing that has occurred and during the last legislative session is the legislative cuts to our transition to kindergarten enrollment. So this last year, they capped enrollment at 59 FTE, and we finished this year with 58. But during the 2026 legislative session, they implemented additional statewide cuts to the TK program. And so we received notice from OSPI that our new enrollment cap is at 43. So anyone that we enroll more than 43, we would not receive state funding for. And so that's where we're at. And that's where we're seeing a decrease in 15 FTE at the TK level. So again, the analysis, this is very similar to what I presented last year, is that overall projection is that enrollment will continue to decline, but Valley Academy may help mitigate. Valley Academy is our X factor. So that is not being factored into these projections. So we're hoping that we can beat these enrollment projections just due to the demand at Valley Academy. We saw that last year that, Valley Academy did our projections as expected, but our overall enrollment still remained where we thought it was going to be on our budgeted side. So I'm hoping we can beat that trend this year and come back in October and say, hey, we've beaten this 200 plus decline because we're seeing a positive impact in our enrollment at the academy. And then just as a recap, transition to kindergarten, state budget cuts decreased from 59 to 43. Elementary graduating classes are larger than our projected kindergarten classes. We see birth rates declining, but rate of decline is slowing, and we're seeing increasing in 29 and 30. So we can see a turnaround. One of the biggest things also we just pay attention to year is just what is our capture rate. So we're operating on the assumption that we're capturing roughly about 3/4 of the births in the area enroll ultimately into our kindergarten classes. And, that's kind of a helpful projection, but if that goes lower, then we would, if we had smaller kindergarten classes than projected for last year, we would have to pay attention. It's like, okay, something might be going on with the capture rates and what is causing that. Again, middle schools, we see that decrease between 5th and the 6th grade level. We know that's kind of an impact the charter school and private school offerings. And then on the positive side, we both have our high school and then also Valley Academy as discussed previously, but also at the high school, we see an increase from our 8th to 9th grade enrollment. So we see a lot of students, even though they left at the middle school level, are returning at the high school level and taking the opportunities that are being offered at the high school. We also saw a very positive impact in our enrollment at the high school due to our accelerated pathways program. So we had record high running start enrollment last year, and then we implemented this program as well. And we saw a significant increase in our running start enrollment and a larger high school enrollment. So we're attributing just the opportunities that the Accelerated Pathways program is offering. And then again, Valley Academy, we're seeing a lot of demand there. We do expect Valley Academy to continue to grow, but it's just a question of how much and will that overall have an overall impact on our projected enrollment for next year. Any questions on enrollment before I move on to general fund? So we'll start off with year-end projections for the current school year. So kind of a lot to unpack here with the numbers on this board. So what we're kind of looking at is kind of that bottom line. So the change in our fund balance between our beginning fund balance and our ending fund balance. And we had and we have two numbers up here. We have our budget capacity and without budget capacity. And so as a reminder, budget capacity is just extra budget that is added in to account for any unanticipated expenditures that may occur or unanticipated revenues that we may receive during the year, such as a grant. So we want to make sure we have adequate capacity in the budget to account for those expectations and ensure we can use them without having to go to the board and do like a substantial budget revision. So we balance out revenues and expenditures just to make sure we're not impacting our fund balance, but it's just there to help us for those things that may occur during the school year that we weren't aware during the summer before when we're preparing the budget. Because ultimately, although the numbers on the revenues and expenditures change from the top to the bottom slide, the ultimate numbers and the change in the fund balance remain the same. So looking at this, we see a change in the fund balance. So we have a $400,000 negative variance. So regardless of which one we're looking at with or without budget capacity, we budgeted for about a $2.4 million deficit. So we had expenditures exceeding revenues by roughly $2 million. And then we had transfers out exceeding our transfers in by about $500,000. And where we ended up was about about $2.8 million. So we got to break that down because it's a little misleading because we're actually looking better than how those numbers appear. So if we look at our revenues and expenditures, our year-end projection is, we anticipated in our budget a $2 million decrease, but it looks like expenditures are only exceeding revenues by $1 million this year. And then on our transfers in and transfers out, we have a net transfer of about $1.35 million. Well, we know the bulk of that $1.5 million of the transfer out is for the Skills Center grant. And we know once the Skills Center grant is completed, that funding is going to return to the general fund next year, which you'll see in a future slide. So even though it's like, hey, oh no, $2.8 million deficit, once we factor in that transfer, we're kind of closing in, closer to $1 million as opposed to 2.8. And then some of the kind of just to break down to see, okay, what were kind of some of the big factors that helped or hindered the school district this year. So we were able to maximize our K-3 compliance funding this year, and that is reflected on our state apportionment funding. So we're seeing an additional $1.2 million there. As discussed, we saw a net transfer out, which we know the vast majority of that will be returning to the general fund next year. We started with kind of a negative variance at the beginning of the year. So we were hoping to start the school year around 13.6 million, but we came in about 13.2. And that was largely due to the HVAC issues at the high school that happened last summer. So again, that was an unanticipated expenditure. And that was roughly about $350,000 transfer we had to do to the capital projects to help cover the high school HVAC expenditures. So that caused that variance there. We also saw decreased funding at the local effort assistance level, again, declining enrollment, increased assessed value. So we're seeing, we didn't receive as much as we thought we would there. Investment earnings are down, so lower interest rates, but also we just have less money in the fund balance. So as the fund balance decreases as well, we're not going to get as much return on our this money is sitting in a state investment pool collecting interest. So the more we have in there, the more earnings we can get. But this year we got $250,000 less than anticipated. And then just kind of rounding it out, just miscellaneous expenditures and revenues. Now I know that's a lot of numbers. Is there any questions on that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, when we actually get the transfer back of the money for the skill center, we'll actually still be beating budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So here's a comparison with our 26-27 preliminary budget with our year-end projections and also our forecast. So again, here we can see it with capacity, and I'll go, next slide is without. So the numbers will look fairly more similar. So again, we can see that. Whoop, there we go. Right here, we see this huge gap, like, wow, are we getting $10 million more? It's like, no, again, it's just capacity built in there. We have about $6 million of capacity built in. But you can see here, we have, again, it looks like, oh no, we have this $2.8 million deficit. But if we go over to the next our 26-27 budget, we can see the 2.3, almost 2.4 of a transfer back in to the general fund. That's going to help increase the fund balance and the general fund overall. So I'm just going to jump to the next slide. So again, same numbers, but a little bit more comparable without the capacity. So again, you can see 26-27, we see an increase in our fund balance compared to our current year projections. Again, large part due to bringing this money back in to the general fund from the capital projects fund. But we're also seeing, anticipating almost like a $4.5 million increase in revenues, large part due to the new levy. So this 26-27 will be the first year with the full amounts. The full year will be the entire of the new levy. So 25-26 was partially the old levy amount and part of the new levy amount. 26-27 is the whole new levy. So you can see that upshot in the revenues. But we also see that corresponding increase in expenditures, again, largely due to, inflationary factors. You can have the same amount of staff, but each year, salaries and benefits increase regardless. And then 27, 28 and beyond, we kind of start seeing that decrease in fund balance again. And then kind of raises that question, hey, we passed a new levy. Why are we seeing a decrease in revenues? And it's like, again, just that overall impact of declining enrollment year after year. We anticipate we're not going to receive any additional local effort assistance from this fund, from the state by 27-28. We see probably going to see about $2 million less in local effort money next year than we got this year. And then finally, 27-28, we won't receive anything from the state moving forward. We also see, decreasing revenues on the side of, we're using up our carryover from our grants from year to year. Kind of anticipate that'll be exhausted by 27-28. And then just kind of the federal funding uncertainty. We can't just assume that we're going to see an increase in federal funding. So we have to kind of plan for either it's going to stay stable or continue to decrease. So that's why you kind of see that decrease in revenues from 26-27 to 27-28. By 29-30, so you see an upshot of about 134 million. So again, we see a jump in revenue. And again, that would be the time of our new levy. So we have a 4-year levy that's going to expire in 28-29, pass a new EP&O levy in 29-30, take advantage of the increased assessed value. And that's where we're going to see an upshot in revenues despite declining enrollment and other declining funding sources. So hopefully carrying it out, the new EP&O levy by 29-30 is going to help offset a lot of these declining revenues.
Sean knows, I know I'm jumping the gun to action today,
Mhm.
do those include anything for the Lincoln grant,
What do you mean?
the playground? So, well, all right. We haven't approved it yet, so I guess that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would be, it's going to be in here. It's all going to take place in the 25-26 year end. So the goal would be that we have this grant, construction's going to take place in August, and then it should be done in August. At the very latest, maybe September. So we might have a timing difference in this, but essentially the anticipated goal is start complete by the end of August. Yeah. So assumptions and methodology. So again, continuing enrollment decline projected, but hoping Valley County enrollment is going to help mitigate that. Again, just federal funding uncertainty, even though we have received funding for the upcoming school year, we haven't heard anything to the contrary negative. It's still something that we have to be vigilant about, even if, for years to come. Local effort assistance. This has been a funding source we've had for many years, but it's gradually declined, again, just to increasing assessed value and decreasing enrollment, which are the primary factors in that funding. But also, again, during the 2026 legislature, the state cut, well, they made a promise that they were going to continue to increase funding for local effort assistance, and then they reneged on it. So we can't rely on this funding. And, we're already anticipating, the state is already coming out projecting significant budget deficits for next year. So the idea or the chance that we may see increased funding for local effort assistance is pretty nil. And then again, as mentioned, state legislature, we're not holding out hope for any sort of increased funding from the state. Again, significant budgets deficits projected. And so we're kind of hoping they just don't cut anything. But we saw cuts this year, and that's kind of a concern we have going in for next year. Budget reductions have been factored into these forecasts. So annual alignment of staffing to enrollment. Inflationary factors, again, each year, salaries and benefits, adjusted for IPD and other factors from the state. We always budget for 100% staffing. So if we come in less than 100%, with some state savings on our side, helps with the fund balance. As mentioned earlier, we have the K-3 class size compliance. We were able to maximize this year. We hope to continue to do that for the future. And then, as mentioned before, we have about $6 million in budget capacity that accounts for the difference between what you see on the budget and then once it's kind of removed. Budget timeline. So June 10th, we had our we went over the 4 other funds. July 10th is the deadline to submit to the ESD for review. Once we hear back from the ESD, we'll take into account any feedback and make revisions there. And then we'll have our public hearing on August 11th and set up for budget adoption on August 25th. All right, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. As you can see, Sean is passionate about the budget and he does a great job taking us through that. Sean, thank you for your time and your diligence. We appreciate it.
Oh. So thorough with your clapping. All right. So now we're moving on to action. I think some of the audience is waiting for this. We have the bond resolution number 0326. We had a long discussion about the bond last meeting, and this resolution affirms our decision to run a $275 million bond on November 3rd, 2026 on the November 3rd, 2026 ballot. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution 0326?
Move to approve resolution 0326. I'll second.
All right, has been moved by Julie and seconded by Maria. I know I have discussion. Who wants to go first?
Are you?
Julie.
All right.
So I started with some notes, I made some points last time. I started with some notes and now I'm just going to read kind of the statement that I ultimately prepared. So as I stated before, when conversations about improving Wenatchee High School first began, I was not convinced that a bond was the right path forward. I was especially concerned about the climate for passing a bond, which requires 60% voter approval, and assumed the capital levy would be the most reasonable viable option to address physical improvements to the school. As a result, I came into the process as a skeptic, and I make no apology for that. Skepticism or doubt, when applied carefully and critically, leads to better decisions. But I also believe in following professional guidance and evidence and making logical financial decisions. Over the past several years, I have observed dedicated members of our facilities committees comprised of parents, staff, board members, community members, and other professionals take a hard, honest look at the condition of our high school and other buildings within the district. We also brought in experts to help capture their observations. They walked our hallways, inspected our systems, and asked tough questions. Our facilities committee confirmed that the condition of our high school building and the HVAC systems in most other schools require more than a levy can provide. This is not a wish list. This is a facilities reality. Based on their evaluation and recommendation, after careful reflection, I'm now in support of placing this bond resolution on the November general election ballot. In particular, I'm proposing that we approve a bond in the amount of $275 million. For the reasons I'll explain, this bond is an important, responsible, and sensible use of taxpayer funds. I know many of you share my instinct to scrutinize every dollar, so I want to emphasize that this proposal was built with fiscal discipline at its core. Rather than starting from scratch, it deliberately repurposes existing spaces, recognizing and capturing real savings in the process to the tune of $20 million. The people who designed this approach were thinking like stewards and not spenders. This matters to me, and it should matter to you. The timing is also critical, as there is a narrow window for the state matching support that will be reduced or eliminated following the November election. If we wait until after November 2026, we risk losing millions of dollars in potential contribution. So timing is critical. Most importantly, this is about our students and where they spend the majority of their time throughout the year. A safe, healthy, and functional learning environment is not a luxury, it's a baseline obligation. Our students deserve a building that supports their education, not one that works against it. They need to be assured of a safe, secure access, clean, breathable air, and comfortable temperatures at a minimum to be able to learn. They need a reliable schedule that is not disrupted due to heat, smoke, freeze, floods, which seems to occur more and more each year. Options for natural sunlight and welcoming spaces would also be instrumental to improving the mental health and discouraging disruptive behavior. As we heard from the sheriff at the last meeting, the truancy and discipline issues in new facilities are drastically reduced. As a board, we are mindful that our state funding and ability to support students is based on enrollment. Over the last few years, our district has worked proactively to earn enrollment. We have expanded program options, including CTE and college in the classroom, developed new opportunities, and given families real, compelling reasons to choose our schools. That work is significant and reflects a genuine commitment and creativity from our staff and leadership. It's made a difference, but limits remain. The truth is, our facilities are working against us. You can offer a world-class program inside a building that undermines it, and families notice. Prospective students and their parents walk through these doors and make decisions, not just about curriculum, but about the environment that their student will spend 4 years in. I've said it before, there are still students that prefer Running Start to more beneficial and supported college in the classroom program simply because the facilities and environment are not conducive to learning. When the building itself becomes a barrier to enrollment, we have a problem that no program expansion alone can solve. We cannot recruit our way out of the facilities crisis. We have to address both, and this bond is how we address the facility side of the equation. The investment opens doors elsewhere. As I mentioned before, by addressing the high school's most critical needs through the bond, we free up capital to serve our other buildings across the district. A rising tide lifts all ships. This is not a decision that favors one school at the expense of others. It's one that strengthens the entire district. And there's something I want every taxpayer in the room to hear clearly. Every dollar of this bond stays here. It doesn't go to Olympia. It doesn't get apportioned by the state and sent elsewhere. It's raised locally, spent locally, and results are realized right here in our community. It's guaranteed. In reality, as a taxpayer, passing a bond to create a source of funds to make significant improvements is a better use of taxpayer funds than using our general funds to subsidize remedial capital improvements. As a reminder, the general fund is meant to provide for operations, including general education programming. When we have to use those funds for repairs or unforeseen capital improvements, we are losing resources to put towards salaries, supplies, and educational programming. A bond would provide designated funds for capital improvements. The improvements in the form of a new building will help avoid the need for periodic infusions from the general fund, thereby preserving precious resources for general education. I fully acknowledge that our state has not been reliable when it comes to education funding, as we just heard. Our state has created unfunded mandates, made promises it hasn't kept, and especially in regards to education. But this bond is different. This is not a state promise. This is our community making a commitment to itself. It's not subject to the approval or apportionment of Olympia. I recognize it's becoming increasingly hard for families to make ends meet because of taxes and increased costs. I'm also fiscally conservative, and I still support this measure. I support it because I have students that experience this reality, and I've seen the evidence, and I believe this is a responsible choice. My children may never actually spend a day in the new school, but they will fully advocate for improvements for the benefit of others, given their lived experience. This is not an easy choice, but the right one. Placing this resolution on the November ballot does not bind anyone to a final decision. It gives our community the voice it deserves on a question that is important. And I trust our neighbors to weigh this carefully, just as the board has. This is a reinvestment in our community. The high school is a formidable monument in our community that is remembered by visitors and may attract future residents. More importantly, it's a reinvestment in our children, and it's reinvestment in the future we are building together right here for all of us. Whether you have children that will go to school or not, it's the space that will educate the future workforce and our families in our community. So as a result, I urge my fellow board members to join with me in supporting this resolution, as well as the rest of the community when it comes up in November.
Oh, man, who wants to follow that?
I do.
Do it, Maria, go. Like following Martin and board communication.
Nope. I don't have anything written, but I think Julie states it exactly. Not exactly how I would say, because I don't have those words. But I think what Julie stated is exactly how I feel about the bond and support and why I will be voting yes. I think I want to thank all the people that have been involved in the Yes Committee. Our kids will not benefit from the potential of having a new high school, improved systems, but you're doing the hard work, and this is an opportunity for the board to not only vote yes for the resolution, but also to pull up our sleeves and make this happen.
You guys want to go before me?
Sure. I just wanted to add that I think I too am in favor of this resolution. I think that our students deserve learning environments that reflect the value that we place on their education and their future. Every day we ask our high school students to walk into a building that no longer meets the needs of modern teaching and learning. While our staff and students continue to do incredible work, they should not have to ever overcome the limitations of an aging facility to succeed. The bond is about more than buildings. It's about making sure our students feel seen, supported, and worthy of the investment. It's about providing safe, functional, and comfortable learning spaces while also addressing important facility needs across the district through HVAC improvements at several schools. As a board, our responsibility is to plan for both today's students and our future generations. And after my careful consideration, I believe this proposal represents a thoughtful investment in our community's children.
Ditto.
Yeah, ditto. And just plug for our teachers too. Like, they're the ones that are going to be using this space in it most of the rest of their careers if they're staying there. They deserve a safe and healthy environment to do their job in. And when our teachers feel supported and happy and respected by their environment and by us, then they're going to teach better and our kids are going to learn better. So just bringing them into this as well. But yes.
Thank you all. We had, like I said, we had a pretty extensive conversation about it on the 10th, and I kind of just wrote down all of the different points that everyone brought up, and then Julie hit most of them. So I will try not to be redundant, and also did that much better than my bullets. So well done, thank you. I think one of the things that I would like to add is that the district has done the due diligence on this. You know, the number of committees and reaching out to students, parents, staff, just broader community. You know, this is a bond that the community has built. So I really am, proud of the work that you guys have done, and that we've done to make sure that we are have a good plan. I think that, Julie kind of alluded to this, but, we're going to have the highest turnout on the 3rd. So I really do like the general election as our option to get the best sense of what the community thinks about this. I think that one of the two things that were consistently highest on staff and parent and community surveys were safety and CTE. Julie spoke to safety. I think expanding our CTE opportunities, CTE, for you don't know, career and technical education. We are expanding opportunities for students that might not be looking at college, might be taking a different path, and allowing a new building allows us to expand that in a really exciting way. Julie, and then the other thing is that if we don't pass this bond, not only are we losing $20 million in SCAP funding, we are potentially looking at a failed HVAC system. And if we're doing that, we're probably looking at an emergency bond, and then we're getting way less for way more money, and no one's happy about it. And that's the reality. Like Julie said, this isn't a wish list. This is responsible use of tax dollars for the reality of our facilities. Was that close? All right. You can rewind the YouTube video and watch it again. But yeah, I would say that I agree with my fellow board members that this is, I think, a great opportunity for the community to support the community, and really, really excited about what happens in November. All those, what's the thing that I do? All in favor of adopting the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And then, well, okay, moving on to the a shorter one. This is a transfer of funds for resolution number 0426. Do I have a motion to approve transfer of funds for resolution 0426?
I will move to approve resolution number 0426 to transfer funds from the general funds to the capital projects fund for the Lincoln Elementary Playground.
Second.
All right, has been moved by Maria and seconded by Mark. Any discussion?
Get my essay for this one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just-
I just wanted to say like a quick thank you to the district for pursuing grants. I mean, I think it's just making our facilities better on someone else's dime. So that's great that we're doing this, and I'm excited to see the Lincoln playground when it's done. So, all in favor of adopting the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And then name for the pro and con committees. There were no applications for the con committee, but do I have a motion to approve the appointment of 3 recommended applicants, Katie Pauley, Chuck Largent, and Ron Walter, for the pro committee for the November 3rd, 2026 bond measure voters pamphlet? Debbie Walter, not Ron. So yeah, has been moved by.
I move to accept the pro committee as presented.
All right.
Second.
All right, has been moved by Mark and seconded by Julie. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of adopting the resolution as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And then Dr. Kalahar, superintendent report.
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm sharing something that I haven't done in the past, but as a cabinet team, we thought that we would share the end of the year and graduation by the numbers. We're very proud of the work that the school district is doing and for the graduates that we're putting out into the workforce and the college world and anything post-secondary education wise. So from Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center, we had 830 industry recognized certificates: technology, collision repair, construction trades, cosmetology, criminal justice, culinary arts, digital media arts, fire science, and medical occupations. So we're proud of those numbers. Between Wenatchee High School and Westside High School combined, we had 577 unique students earn a total of 1,041 CTE industry certifications. For Westside High School, as you all saw, we had 106 graduates, one that received their AA, 11 juniors who graduated, and 10 students that graduated with the seal of biliteracy. And we also saw the 18 scholarships that were given out there as well. For Wenatchee High School, we saw 460 graduates. We saw 12 valedictorians. We saw from our Accelerated Pathways program, 4 graduating with the state transfer agreement, the Washington 45, which transfers and full general education requirements at any public and most private colleges in Washington. And we have on deck for next year 89 students that are on track to graduate with that same Accelerated Pathways program. We saw hundreds of scholarships given out there as well. Skill Source graduation, our Skill Source Learning Center in partnership with the Wenatchee School District graduated 22 students with their GED and 10 students with the Westside Diploma. They also have a partnership with Wenatchee Valley College in the Transitional Studies, where they had 4 students that graduated with their GED and 8 students that graduated with their Washington State Diploma as well. So that's graduation and end of the year by the numbers, which is fantastic. You got to hear a little bit from our SEM students or from our AEM program, talk a little bit about how excited they are about their work. But we have received some information from the Department of Commerce that I feel is important to share. One of those is that we received another grant. So this was a $500,000 grant from the Department of Commerce to upgrade the control systems in Foothills Middle School that was built in 1994. That control system will help us bring our compliance or our EUI numbers at Foothills in compliance with the cleaner building standards and avoid a hefty fine in 2027 when our tier 1 smaller square foot buildings have their fines. And speaking of fines, we did hear back from the Department of Commerce to learn, as our AEM students were sharing with us, that the work of our AEM students, Brian Brocky and our M&O team, the staff at Wenatchee High School, our partners at the PUD, and the Wenatchee School District, we successfully met all compliance standards to avoid the $433,000 fine from the Department of Commerce for the cleaner building standards. So it was great we knew we were working toward that, but it was great to receive the paperwork that said it. And I think Brian was doing a happy dance when he called me. And literally, I could hear him. I like, are you dancing? Anyway, so it's super great news. It's the right work that we're doing. And all of this helps us move forward and understand why it's so important that we have this bond on the ballot in November. So last final thing, Diana and Eric and I had a fun time a week ago today with our Retired Teachers Association at Wenatchee High School. We had donut holes and coffee with them, and I was able to tell my 6th grade drama teacher to shh, and it was super fun. And she loved it. She had a great time. Everyone around her was like, she doesn't know how to be quiet. So it was great. Anyway, so Mrs. Buckner got to hear from me about that, but it was great. We got to tour the building. We had coffee, we had donuts, and they had some great questions, and Diana did a great job with that tour. And that's it. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, board communication. Carolyn, you want to start us off?
I got none.
All right. Julie, what do you think?
Have a nice summer.
All
See you
right.
in August.
Mark?
But I just have to say, the only thing I attended since our last meeting was the 8th grade graduation, which was so exciting. Saw Diana's child also graduate, and so excited. We did insist that he clean out his locker before we left, and we found the instrument that was missing all year. So always a win.
I too attended an eighth grade graduation. And I want to say kudos to all the staff and volunteers. I think I saw your son volunteering and the orchestra and making it special. Not necessarily recognizing it as an eighth grade graduation, but as a promotion, a big chapter in their lives. I also want to thank everybody that sat through the board meeting and everybody that's been involved with the Yes for Wenatchee Schools Committee. You guys have put in countless hours and your dedication really shows. From Absher Construction, I think. Is that right? Did I get that right? Thank you for sitting through this. We very rarely have an audience, so it's nice to have someone to speak to. So thank you.
Well said by all. I have nothing to add. So meeting is adjourned. Yes, that is, there we go. Okay.